there's things that we'll be able to like.
Hey everybody, this is Clark from Clark's Cosplays. This past DragonCon 2024, we debuted our Halo Grunt, our Unggoy, while I was Master Chief. My wife was the Grunt. It was an idea that we had been kind of floating around for some time. I saw a Halloween mask on Amazon when we talked about doing a Grunt. It's a Cthulhu mask. The eyes and the face and the brow and everything looks very much like a Halo Grunt. So it was a great starting point. And that was partly how it started. Then the rest of it, looking at the different Grunt Halo lore videos on YouTube, playing a lot of Halo, looking at different Grunt options that we want, different colors, different game versions. Because there are differences between Halo 1 to Halo 2 to Reach to Halo 4 and 5, and then back to Infinite. But we ended up settling on more of the newer Halo Reach, which is very similar to the Halo Infinite ones in their design, their appearance. So one of the things that really made us push forward with it so close to DragonCon and actually go for making this was my wife. She's big into Godzilla and all that. And there's a cosplayer, Mulingty, I believe that's how you say the name, who did a evolved Godzilla. And looking at how she did hers, she did like upholstery foam for the larger feet, the larger legs going up for Godzilla. That got us thinking, hey, we could do that for the Grunt. So I started looking at, Michael's and Joanne's for their different fabric types, their upholstery foam, because that, my mind started thinking, hey, we could, cut out and shape all this upholstery foam, and then we can find some kind of patterned fabric and just stretch it out over it. The more we thought about it and the more we started looking at everything, we were just kind of like, are we going to do this? Are we doing this? So we pulled the trigger pretty late in the game and just went for it. She was working on doing all the hands and feet. What she ended up using was upholstery foam, like thick chair upholstery foam, because you can easily like shave pieces off, make it look a little bit more natural, more organic. She was working on that. She learned about painting stuff with latex and mixing different paints and dyes and colors with latex. That way it has that more of that flexibility to it. A little bit, you can make it a little bit more organic, kind of like scales, because Unggoy, the Grunts, have more of a scale, crab-like reptilian kind of a texture to them. And while she was working on that with upholstery foam and EVA foam, I was working on trying to figure out how to make the methane tank in the armor. I didn't want to use EVA foam right off the bat, so I was using large sheets of paper. So I had those, and I was using that to essentially make a paper version of it. I got as close as I could with the paper. It was driving me nuts. I was losing my mind. Before I finally said, okay, I feel like I'm at a good place with this. Screw it, we're going live. And traced it out onto some EVA foam. And then I had a great idea. I'm going to show you, before I get too much farther with everything, how I'm doing the ventilation system on our Grunt build. What I ended up doing was I took the blower fan, like what you would use for one of those inflatable T-Rexes, or any of those other outfits. You can buy these real cheap off Amazon. They run off of a little USB. They come with a battery pack, but you can also use your wireless phone chargers. This is one, it's a 10,000 milliamp from Anker. It's like 20 bucks on Amazon. Anker makes great portable batteries. That's just one example. What I ended up doing was I put some holes roughly the same place on the Grunt as these pieces here. And so what I did was I measured out using this fan ring here, took this ring off, basically put it in roughly the same spot where I want, cut it out to give us a hole where I put the blower here, measured out, cut the hole, and as you can see here, this setup is so you can put the, inflatable costume suit vinyl fabric stuff in there, with the holes there, and then tighten this down and it will lock down on top of it. So what I did was I took the thin, like 2 or 3 millimeter foam, cut it out. You can kind of see it on this one here. Cut it out in a ring, basically just less than the width of this. So this has a nice tight fit in there. It's thin enough that the ring can lock down on it without tearing or any issues. But that gives me a wider surface area. And with that, I glued it to the actual, shell here, utilizing contact cement. This is weldwood. Also have some barge for when I run out of this. Essentially the same thing. I have a USB splitter, so what I'm going to end up doing is I have 2 opposing fans, because as you can see, the Grunt has 2 opposing little discs there that will feed into here, which I can then power both fans off of one battery pack at the same time. So I have these pieces here, and what my thought process is, obviously we want air circulation in here. The blowers are pointing towards the back. They will be pointing towards my wife's back, the other Clark of Clark cosplays. However, we don't want them to see. This is not very visually appealing. As you can see on the Grunt, it's covered. So what I did is I have this disc. And what I did was I made these little triangle pieces. Like you can see here, the little triangle pieces sticking out of there, off this ring, off this disc, there, to give a gap. This was done out of the same 8mm foam that I used for the shell. I then used some 6mm pieces here to kind of give it that more stepped out, contoured look that it has here. With the idea being that when I put that on there, you can see there is a gap. A small gap to allow air to be able to sucked in still and blown out. So you can still have the blowers blowing cooler air or just air in general against her back, therefore helping keep her temperature regulated, especially in the Atlanta, Georgia heat. Here is a finished side. As you can see, if you back it up a little bit, you look from the outside, ooh, looks like it's all solid piece. However, but I still have the blowers there. And if I plug that in, oh, okay. As you can hear, fans. I can still feel the air coming in. There's a gap. Air is still circulating. Air is still coming in. Enough of a gap that the airflow is still allowed without any negative things, without it being like sucked in and not getting any air pressure or air to come out. But from basic glance, it looks solid. So that's how I did that. My little bit of, engineering, I guess, so that we can have Two nice strong blowers blowing air to keep you cool. This is how it looks. That's really what's underneath it. We also used like some Pepakura files to make more of the chest piece. The back piece was all made from scratch. This little chest piece was done with Pepakura files that were transferred to foam and then cut. So the way we have it cut is we have straps crisscrossing in the back. Again, the back is not going to have any foam really on it. Besides, this. But that means that the fans are going to be blowing straight at the back, not at any kind of foam obstructions or anything like that. Because I've done foam stuff in the past, and it's really light. It's easy to work with. However, the downside to it is basically just insulation. It does not circulate any air. It keeps the heat inside. So, trying to mitigate that. These little fans, as much skin contact, if you will, where there's no, I don't want too much armor on places that don't need to have armor on it, because obviously you're not going to see it, because it's going to be hidden behind his little breather back piece. So yeah, that's my little bit of engineering here. Come be Grunty, run around. It's a soft latex mask. There's no internal supports or anything like that. And we're essentially strapping half of a gas mask to the front. And that's going to cause it to get squished. That's going to put pressure on the back of her head, causing things to collapse. So we had to fill that out while also trying to make it as comfortable as we could at that point in time. Unfortunately, we did not get to add fans to it. That's something that I want to fix in the future for the updates for this coming DragonCon 2025. One of the things we ended up doing is, we've got a hard hat liner off Amazon. So that way it can kind of help provide some shape, provide some comfort. When we had the gas mask piece on there, it was causing the front part, especially around her eyes, to collapse. I mean, it's a mask. So what she's viewing through is, the little slits. So it's very easy for those to get shifted, squished, whatever, that we want her to be able to see. I went down in the basement looking through all sorts of stuff. And what I stumbled upon was some goggles from some old military days. I looked at them and I thought, oh, they're flexible, they're comfortable, they have foam lining around here, so it's not hard plastic and stuff sticking into your face, but they're also somewhat rigid. They have, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch of gap there with breathing stuff. I took the lenses out. It still keeps its shape, it's still flexible, but it pushes the mask far enough away. So it's not directly squished up against her face. It helps keeps its brow shape and everything like that. I have the Halo Nerf Needler. It looks great. It's a little bit harder for her to hold with the Grunt hands right now. We ended up getting 2 little light up LED balls, which are perfect for little plasma grenades. And it made it for so much more of a fun thing. There is one where the Grunt ignites his 2 plasma grenades, his little suicide grunt, and he just screams out, and that was kind of what sealed it for doing the suicide grunt for our build. So I used the metallic spray paint for the metal parts and the details on the methane tank. I started out with doing the metallic silver after doing coats of the black plasti dip and the usual heat treatment of the foam, typical for any EVA foam. I did the metal with the plans of taping it off and blocking that part off when I apply the orange. To me, it was easier to do it this way than it was to paint everything orange and then tape off the area around it and hit it with the silver. Now, as you can see, everything has been taped off, and I'm going to start applying the orange. For this, I used the rustic orange from Rust-Oleum. I thought it was a very good match to the Halo Reach typical minor grunt color, that typical orange, both on the gameplay as well as the Halo Infinite minor grunt figure that we were using as part of our guide as well. I did multiple coats of the orange. Usually it's good to do at least 2 coats. That way you make sure you get a nice even coverage, especially if you're like me and you're doing some of this painting at night. I mean, then when you look at it in the day, you realize that there's some spots a little more uneven. Multiple coats gets rid of this, as well as just provides better layering, better color, a better product. While you watch me paint, I'll tell you a little bit more about the strapping system that I used for the methane tank. They're like the Alice pack straps, rigged up attachment points inside the methane tank, so that way it's comfortable straps. They have buckles at the bottom, so that way we can put it on there, put the straps over the shoulders, and buckle them in. And everything can be tucked in and hidden. All the straps can be tucked in and hidden. For the methane tank, I had it set up so that the piece that comes on the top comes down and attaches on Velcro to the chest armor. Partly as a way of added support, but also is mainly more just so that it all kind of seamlessly blends together. Very similar to what's already on the Grunt armor pieces. You always want to make sure you get the little inside edges on your pieces. They're easy to forget. Here's the finished methane tank. As you can see, you got the nice metallic silvers, you got the strapping systems, you got all the wires, all that's tucked away and hidden. To try and add more of the Unggoy scaly skin parts, we're probably going to forego this next time, just for comfort and looks. And here's some shots from the hotel room of Alicia suited up in her grunt. Nice close-up of the grunt face and mask. Here's some shots of her at the Halo 405th photo shoot. Here's some shots that people took of us in the halls walking through DragonCon. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed our grunt build video. Sorry it took so long to get it posted. Hope you guys learned something from it, and I look forward to seeing you guys out on the con floor.